welcome, and we'll get started. So for those of you who are new to Grid, Grid is a global real estate community built for investors by investors. And the big thing is that we are not gurus, we are actually doing the deals. And we like to bring on people who are subject matter experts. And tonight with Emily coming on board, you're going to hear from someone who's actually doing what we are talking about. So again, we're not here to try to collect money or try to get coaching or et cetera, et cetera. We're literally doing this, and we're here as resources. Of course, you know, there's revenue opportunities in the future, but that's not why we're doing this to begin with. So our mission is to connect, learn from, and collaborate with like-minded people interested in building wealth and creating impact through real estate. And we welcome investors of all levels. Oftentimes, you know, we have these conversations with people who are like, oh, I'm brand new to investing in real estate or investing in mortgages or notes or whatever. This is the right group. We have people at all different levels, people who are really, really seasoned investors all the way down to the brand new folks, and all different industry people as well. And so real quick, because this is going to be the Emily show in just a little bit, but I'm Rebecca Cullen. I think there might be a slide about it. Yeah, so I'm Rebecca Cullen. I am the leader of Grid, and we are part of Keller Williams Connected Office. So I run a real estate team, as well as have an acquisition company and a property management company and all the things. But also Keller Williams Connected has the finance committee, and I am partnered with my friend Melanie Wilson for the finance committee, and so many of you are here through that as well. So thanks for joining us. And I'm going to let you guys real quick, because this is very much why we have Grid. We're going to go quickly through this. Everybody's going to have an opportunity to introduce themselves, and real briefly say what industry you're in and why you're here this evening. Okay, so introduce yourself. When you're on my screen, I'm going to go through the screen and you're going to say who you are, introduce yourself, and tell us what industry you're in real quick, and then why you're here. Cool. All right, Micah, you're going to start because you're at the top of my screen, please.
All right. Hey, Micah Wynn. I'm a realtor at the same office as Rebecca, and thanks for the invite, Rebecca. I'm excited to hear about what Emily has going on to teach us and figure out how to make some money. Thanks.
Great. Thanks for being here. Lisa.
Hi, I'm Lisa. I'm the Director of Operations for Cullen Company, but I'm also an investor, and we've invested in commercial, short-term, and long-term real estate.
Awesome. Thank you for being here. Carlton.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hey, I'm Carlton McClendon. I'm an investor down here in South Georgia. I'm just looking for more opportunity to invest in different kind of ways.
Great. Glad you're here.
Thank you.
Gabe.
Hi, I'm Gabe Scouten. I'm a realtor interested in the mortgage note space.
Awesome. Greg. Actually, so there's two Gregs. So Greg K, I think you're the one up.
I'm Greg K. Kazia from New York City and new to Atlanta, Georgia, and really interested to learn more about this.
Awesome. All right. So Gregory Maddox, you're next.
Hi, I'm Gregory Maddox. I'm from Warner Robins, Georgia, and I'm pretty much interested in learning about note investing.
Great. All right, Jazz B.
Hi. Hi, I'm Jasmine. I am in Charlotte metro area. I am actually an ex real estate agent. I put my license up a couple of years ago, but I am interested in investing in notes for myself.
Great. Glad you're here. Jennifer.
Hey guys, I'm Jennifer. I'm a project manager in the home renovation space and former realtor. My boyfriend does promissory notes, so that's why I'm here. I'm trying to learn some more as well.
Amazing. All right, Kathleen, Kate. And we might need to come back.
Hey, I'm
Oh.
sorry. Hey, Kate McDonald with Keller Williams. Just interested in future investing for ourselves as well as for our clients.
Great. Glad you're here. Katrina. Okay, we'll come back to you. Matthew. Oh, Katrina.
Hi, hello everyone. I am Katrina, and it's very nice to meet everyone. My background is in investing, healthcare administration, and also loan origination. I have an 8-year-old daughter, so I'm trying to get back into the industry. And this is so great to be on this call. My apologies for the muted line.
That's okay. No, glad you're here. Matthew, you're up. If Matthew doesn't unmute, then we're going to go with Nader, I think. Nader.
Yeah, Nader. I
Nader.
just joined in. I'm sorry. What's the question?
So the question is who you are and what industry you're in, briefly.
My name is Nader. I'm a real estate agent with Keller Williams. And I do a little bit of investments in real estate.
Awesome.
Don't know anything about notes investing, and that's why I'm here.
Perfect. We're glad you're here. Thanks for sharing. Sway, thanks for joining us again.
Hey guys, my name is Sway. I'm happy to be here. I'm an investor, buy and hold. I dabble in a little bit of everything, short-term, long-term, and just looking to expand and learn a little bit more.
Awesome. Glad you joined. We have Drew Choate. I see that you're unmuting yourself, but let's see. All right, Drew, we're going to come back to you. Cool. All right, I think we got everyone, unless someone just popped in. Nick Lehman. Nick Lehman, the question is, who are you and what industry you're in?
Yeah, who am I? Well, I'm Nick Lehman. I'm from Las Vegas area. I know Emily through KW Wealth. I'm also an ambassador with her. I do residential real estate. I have a good retail side and starting to get into or very interested in the note industry or learning how to do it. So Emily, I'm a big fan and loved everything she's taught me so far. So excited to be here and support her.
That's great. Thanks for being here. And I don't know, Drew, if you are able to say who you are and what you're up to, feel free to chat. Okay. Okay, cool. Well, so we got everyone. So we have an amazing speaker and hubby and Adam this evening, and I'm going to let them take it away. I'm just kind of showing you guys this stuff because it's being recorded, but important legal stuff is, consult a CPA, attorney, etc. for anything that we talk about this evening. And then also we are recording this. So hopefully you're releasing your, releasing any liability around filming and photography tonight because we are recording this. So Emily, if you want, I'm going to stop sharing and you take it away.
Hopefully. Okay. Yep. We are sharing our screen. My name is Emily Courtwright. I am getting over the flu, so I have my husband here who is just as knowledgeable about mortgage note investing. And he is going to help me present this. So I may chime in a little bit, but the two of us have been investing alongside each other for the last over 10 years. So he is very capable. And can give me a thumbs up if you can see my screen. Thumbs up. Great.
Yeah. So hello, everybody. My name is Adam Roberts. My lovely wife, Emily, is gracious enough to let me help present here this afternoon. Like she said, we've been investing in real estate since around 2013. We moved to North Texas and just started buying cash flowing rentals. That was really our first introduction to real estate investing. Fast forward a few years, we ended up finding our way into commercial real estate, specifically apartment communities. And so that's a bulk of our activities today. It's really my full-time job is acquiring, managing large apartment communities, 200, 300, 400 unit communities, and their group purchases, so investment syndications. And but funny enough, a few years ago, that space got a little tight from a cash flow perspective. And I talk about this because it's germane to what we're going to talk about here today. Interest rate increases, insurance increases, just about every expense on the P&L increases. People can't pay as much in rent. The American consumer is not doing that great today. Our apartment tenants are struggling to make it work. And so what does that mean for folks who own apartment real estate? Well, that means your cash flow gets crunched. And so Emily and I found ourselves a couple years ago, back to the drawing board, so to speak. We had an apartment business that was used to cash flowing 10 to 12% like clockwork, and all of a sudden was cash flowing like 1 to 2 to 3% cash on cash returns. And so we needed to do something, and we needed to do it very quick. So introduction here to mortgage note investing really came to save the day. So we'll dive right in. Just a quick disclaimer, this is completely educational, right? And as it was mentioned earlier, if this seems really interesting to you, there is follow-on education opportunities, including a program that Emily and I are a part of, but everything you should really review with other professionals to make sure it's a good fit for you. We are going to break our presentation up a little bit. We're going to talk first about the principles of mortgage note investing, how it can fit into a real estate investor's portfolio. And then we'll move on a little bit and talk more of the nuts and bolts. But from a mindset perspective, I think it's very important to just start from a high level and understand that mortgage note investing can help greatly in the cash flow category. And I think a lot of us over the years, if you've been investing in real estate the past couple of years, you've seen prices going up, valuations going up. It's a little bit more difficult now to own real estate and make a good cash flow, right? I mean, I used to buy single family real estate and cash flow $400 or $500 a month. That's difficult to do these days. And it's for a multitude of reasons. But at the end of the day, the safest investment, the best investment really has these two words in it, cash flow. And it's very important. But there's reasons why we don't get into it, right? And I think for Emily and I, and we talk about this frequently, we're like, wow, mortgage note investing has been so good to us. Why did we wait until 2023 to get into it? And in reality, we were just kind of stuck in our day jobs, right? Managing the apartments, making sure things were working, status quo, very comfortable with the way things are, what we're investing in. And so it was a little bit of a leap of faith, right? First time we learned about this, it sounded good, but we didn't quite understand the nuts and bolts of it at first. And we were kind of stuck in our old day-to-day. But and that's where a lot of us are, right? When it comes to making a shift, a very important shift in mindset and strategy. But I can tell you this, especially when it comes to the landlord. So if any of you are successful landlords, I consider myself a landlord as well, right? I'm an asset manager in the apartment space, and there's management companies that work on our properties. But guess what? Every day I wake up and it's a lot of whack-a-mole, right? It's okay. It's an investment vehicle that us and a bunch of investors have gotten into, and it's going to be very good to us. But every day, it's a lot of work, right? It's my full-time job, and it's all about dodging the curveballs that come at you. I think what you're going to learn here in just a second, and again, this is a little bit of mindset shift. Mortgage note investing, two things. One, there's the upfront work to make the right investment. And then there's the cash flow portion that is relatively, I'll call it effortless compared to most other types of real estate investing. And then number two is you really move into a position of less risk. Okay. And I'll tell a quick anecdote, right? For any of us that were buying real estate the past couple of years where you could get a loan for, say, 3%, right? I always thought to myself, wow, I just don't understand. Why would anybody be in the loan business? Why would anybody want to be a bank? Like making loans at 2.5% and 3%, they must be losing money. It's not exciting at all. They're not getting any appreciation, none of that, right? Well, in reality, as the real estate owner, as the landlord, you are in the position of most risk in the capital stack. And the lender happens to be in the position of least risk. And we'll talk about that here in a minute, a little bit more. So those are the principles, right? It's cash flow. It's a risk discussion. And then for me, and this isn't something I really fully understand till we got into it, but it's a return on your effort discussion. Because for the return on your investment, I think you'll find it's much more exciting to talk about the return on how much work you have to do, which when it comes to mortgage notes isn't as significant as other forms of real estate investing. So the first element that we'll teach on here this afternoon, buying existing performing notes. So when it comes to mortgage note investing, you have kind of the highest level decision tree. You've got performing notes, meaning the borrower, the homeowner, is paying their mortgage on time every month. And if you go back a period of months, it's been on time every month. That's a performing note. So anybody who pays their mortgage on time, you are a performing borrower. There's also a subcategory of note investing called non-performing. We'll talk about that near the end. And that's where people are not paying their mortgage note as agreed upon. But essentially, what Emily and I have become really good at with the help of with some mentors and a group that we're a part of is investing in mortgage notes that already exist, meaning the borrower has been making payments on the notes for a period of time, generally longer than a year, right? And if I look at our portfolio today, I would say the average is probably closer to 5+ years, okay? And these are all performing notes, meaning they are paying on time every time, as agreed. A mortgage note. What's a mortgage note? Many of us have these, right? Whether it's on our own personal homes or maybe we have rent homes, but it's essentially an agreement to pay back in full a loan on an asset that you, the borrower, own. And so from the lender's perspective, it's a loan that's made out to the borrower utilizing, in this case, in many cases that we'll talk about today, single family homes as a securitized collateral. Right. And so as many of you know, when you buy a house and you get your own personal residence, you're basically signing on the loan that you'll collateralize the home in return for a promise to pay. And that promise to pay is a loan amount at a certain interest rate over a certain term, which will get you a monthly payment. So it's extremely simple. It's a piece of paper. It really is. That's all it is. It's a piece of paper that is signed by your borrower and says, hey, I will pay you back. And in so doing, I will put up this home as a collateral to effectuate that security. And from the perspective of the lender, now, for the rest of the presentation, now I've made a couple references like, hey, you, the borrower, you're buying the house and things like that. But for the rest of the presentation, we are the bank. We are the lender, which is a very exciting position to be in. Why? Because every month, like clockwork, when you're buying performing notes, you're gonna do some due diligence up front to make sure you make the right investment. and then you're going to receive long-term cash flow. And it just depends your definition of long-term. We have notes in our portfolio that are 20 plus years long. We've got notes in our portfolio that are 2 to 3 years long. It really depends on your definition of long-term. And so just like that, as the bank, you will receive monthly payments coming to your bank account, and it's just cash flow. It's easy cash flow every month, every time. Let's talk about a quick case study. So now we've kind of reviewed the principles of the note itself. We all know what a mortgage note is. It's an agreement to pay, and we understand that in general, and it's monthly, right? It's coming to your bank account every month. But let's talk about a quick example. This is actually, I think, the second or third mortgage note that we invested in when we got into it. It's a single family residence in San Antonio, Texas. And the first thing to point out here is that the home's value, which happens to be a very important part of our due diligence, is around $130,000. Okay, so if the owner of the home took the home to market, they'd get right around $130,000 market value for it. The borrower, now again, Emily and I are buying existing, like pre-existing mortgage notes that are performing. So today, the borrower's equity is sitting at about 58% of that $130,000. So they have a lot of equity in this home, right? And or another way to look at it, they've got a 42% loan to value. When we're talking due diligence and looking at different types of investments, this happens to be a very important thing. How much cushion is there between the home's value, the asset's value, what is collateral, and what the loan amount is? In this case, 42% of the loan's value. And so what does this mean in real numbers? The note itself had a $54,000 balance at an 8.5% interest rate, and it had 12.5 years remaining on the note. So for the next 12.5 years, Emily and I would make $585 a month coming to our bank account for an investment of $54,000. That's the balance on the note. I almost caught myself there because we didn't pay $54,000 for the note. Instead, we got a discount, and most all mortgage notes are sold at discounts. And we'll talk about that reasoning here in just a second, but let's look at this from a high level. So here's the terms on the note. The borrower's balance, what they see on their loan statement, $54,000 at an 8.5% interest rate, and there's the resulting payment. So 150 payments of $585, like clockwork. Emily and I invested in this note for $46,000. Okay, so right away you can see there's an $8,000 discount. Okay, why would the bank or the note seller, why would they want to give up $8,000? Why would they not want to sell it for $54,000, which is really the face value of the note? Well, it's the time value of money, right? The seller of the note, whether it's a bank or a seller financier or whoever's holding the note today, they find more value, they find more monetary incentive to make $46,000 right now today than they have in making $585 a month for the next 12.5 years. So they're willing to take a little bit of a haircut on the balance of the note so that I can get into it. Now, what are they going to do with that $46,000? In this case, this person was probably going to go out and buy another single family home, right? To keep their business going, right? This person was probably not a full-time note investor like Emily and I. They're going to take that money and go do this all over again and make another, loan origination fee and down payment. And that's their business. But the time value of money is the reason why these notes are sold at a discount. And it really, really amps up the note investor's return, because guess what? I'm going to invest $46,000, and over 12 years, I'm going to make $88,000 as a result of all these payments. If you throw that into a financial calculator, you'll find that's almost a 12% yield. Yield being the return on the interest. Okay. All of these payments, the $585, are principal and interest payments coming back to you, the bank. The 11.7% yield is the interest portion of that payment as a return on your $46,000. Okay. Pretty darn good when you look at the effort that's involved.
So if the house was sold tomorrow, we would make the 54,000. We would get our discount at that time.
Right.
But if the house is owned the next 12 and a half years, we'll just make $585 a month.
Yep. It's an important point. The borrower never sees the 46,000. That's a transaction between us and the note seller. The only thing the borrower sees is the 54,000. That's what they owe. So I'm buying that note for 46,000. If the borrower sells the house the day after I buy the note, then they wire $54,000 over to me. Right. That's how that works. Just to double click a bit into the risk discussion, and I kind of touched on this before, but the one thing we look at as the lender, and this is a discussion that goes into more the due diligence side, but it's worth mentioning because it speaks to how, I won't say risk-free, but it speaks to how this type of investment stacks up from a risk perspective compared to, say, some other types of investing. Because I'm in the deal for 46,000 at the end of the day. The house itself that is securitizing the investment is 130,000. If the borrower decides to stop paying me, then I can foreclose on his home and collect $130,000, right? So from a risk perspective, this goes back to the beginning. As the lender, I'm in the position of least risk. I don't have to pay the insurance. I don't have to pay the property taxes. I don't have to pay for the maintenance. I'm simply being paid monthly as agreed. And if that agreement breaks down, well, then there's an asset that's worth far more than my investment that will provide a lot of cushion. And so this is something we look at pretty heavily when we're buying these notes. Now, okay, we understand what the mortgage note investment is. We understand kind of how it works and that they're sold at a discount, a little bit about yield, and the fact that this is a relatively effortless monthly cash flow. This part here is going to blow everybody's minds. I can tell you right now, the first time I saw this portion of the presentation, I was in complete disbelief. And this is really going to, I think, impress a lot of folks here who are both seasoned and new real estate investors. So what are Emily and I doing? We are buying long-term mortgage notes. And long-term, it has a different definition for everybody. We have a mix of time horizons in our portfolio. But what I can do to keep my note business going is I can buy long-term notes, and then I can turn around and I can sell the front payments of my mortgage note, okay? And for the purposes of this example, let's just say I sell roughly half of the payments, right? So out of the 12 and a half years, maybe I sell 6 or 7 years of payments. Sell to who? Sell to another investor, someone who wants to get into note investing. We call this a partial, where the full-time note investor, I go out and buy the full note. I then go to market and say, hey, I've got this full note. It's a 12 and a half year note. Is anybody interested in buying the first 6 years? And I sell the front payments to another investor. Another way to think of this, partial note investments are like pizzas. Say you go down to Little Caesars and you buy a pizza for $6. And then you go to your kid's soccer game and you sell half the pizza, 3 slices for $2 a piece. What has just happened? You have used economies of scale to sell separate slices, and you've received your initial investment back. You now have $6 in your pocket, and you have half the pizza remaining that you can do whatever you want with. Eat it, sell it, whatever you want. You've recaptured your initial investment, okay? This is what a partial is. And I'm going to show you here how it works on this deal. So we've got our monthly payments, $585. We invested $46,000, if you remember, and for 12 and a half years. I turned around and I sold 8.5 years of the note to another investor for $45,000. So I still have $1,000 in the deal. Okay. That I still have $1,000 of my own money invested. The borrower on the home is going to pay the other investor for 8.5 years. So Joe Smith investor that I sold the front end to is going to receive $585 a month for 8.5 years, at which point, when that's finished, the borrower resumes paying me, the full-time investor, for the remaining 4 years. And how does the math work? In this case, we used Emily's self-directed retirement account. So she's got $1,000 invested in the deal. And then we have a passive investor who bought the front end for us. That passive investor is making 7% yield annually. So for their $45,000 investment, they're making 7% return per year. And then Emily's retirement account, I didn't do the calculation, but the return is extremely high, because if you take $585 times 48, which is 4 years of payments on the back end, and compare that to the $1,000 you have invested, that return is extremely high. So we call this a partial investment. And it is one way to keep your note business humming. Emily and I, what do we do with the $45,000 that we collect from the passive investor? We go buy another mortgage note. We do it over and over and over again, so that at the end of the day, we have a bunch of these notes that will mature on the back end that we own, and we have very little money in the deal, very little. Some of these, we have no money in the deal. And so this is a trick that is very, very good for your note portfolio. It's completely legal. And it's done all the time. It is a very, very common transaction in the note space. So when you're talking about performing notes, you can never leave out the partial investment. It's very significant. And so for me, quite honestly, when I first learned about note investing, this is really where the light bulb started going off. I mean, I was impressed with the cash flow from the get-go. It was something that Emily and I badly needed for our real estate portfolio, given the ebbs and flows of the multifamily market. And when I was taught about partials, I was completely blown away. It was something that I knew would change the trajectory of mine and Emily's wealth journey significantly. So
yeah, we've been able to do over 13 partials in the last 2.5 years.
Yeah.
So we are recycling that money and literally skyrocketing our returns.
Yep, exactly.
Are you guys okay with answering questions as you're going?
You want to do a question real quick?
Sure. Yeah.
Who owns the equity of the note, though? So if you've sold the front half of it and you have the back half, and the house does go into foreclosure, who owns the equity at that point if you're owning a time frame of the note?
Yeah, the equity is owned by the investor, right? It's very important, because to your point, if the home goes into foreclosure, they need to be able to collect on the securitized asset, right?
Mhm.
And then we actually just went through this on a foreclosure on one of our own notes, where we were the partial investor. Someone came to us and said, hey, do you want to buy the first 5 years or so of the note? We said yes. We actually ended up having to foreclose on that person. And so when we went through the foreclosure, the deed on the asset was split by the partial percentage. So whatever years that we owned the note percentage wise, and then the full note investor owned the back end percentage of the actual home's deed. So I don't know if you want to add anything.
It's negotiable. You can put it in the documents however you want. If you want the active investor to be the main person, then that's how you can word your documents.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. All right. Okay. We talked about buying mortgage notes on the open market, and there is a market for them, right? It's a very active market, by the way. It's extremely active. Let's talk a little bit about creating mortgage notes, because this is something I believe is a great way for someone to transition from being a full-time landlord to being a full-time note investor. I've seen a lot of people do it successfully. It's no secret that over the past couple of years, home ownership has become extremely expensive. Okay. I know this because we own the apartment complexes, and I deal with rents and market rents and all day, every day. And it's extremely expensive to own a home compared to renting an apartment or even renting a home these days. And so you can see that reflected on this slide here. You know, $1,000 more in monthly mortgage payments versus rental income. And so that plays very well into what we call the note cycle, right? Where it just so happens to be a lot better to be a bank than it does to be a landlord. And I'll show you some real numbers. This is an asset that Emily and I purchased probably about maybe a little less than 10 years ago. Okay, yeah, 2016. And it was a self-managed rental. It was a great rental. And we had one tenant in there the entire time. It was awesome. But it was time to move on from our single family portfolio and kind of transition our assets. So what did we do? We ended up selling this house on an owner finance note. And if I go back and study that chart on the prior slide that shows the home ownership becoming just excessively expensive, when interest rates go up to 7% and stay at 7% for a year or 2 years or 3 years, a bunch of people are getting priced out of home ownership, right? I'm sure there's plenty of real estate agents on this call. You guys know people are definitely getting priced out of buying their first starter home. But the owner financing world is very active, okay? People that want to buy homes and start the American dream with home ownership, but can't get a mortgage loan from an institution like Wells Fargo or Bank of America, might come to me, who's selling a home on an owner finance note, and agree to owner financing. And so that's what we did with this house. We accepted a $20,000 down payment on a $220,000 sale. And the $200,000 resulting note had a 9.75% interest rate for 30 years. $1,700 a month is the mortgage payment coming to who? Coming to us, the bank, because we sold the house. We were the landlord. Now we're the bank, and the person who lives in the house is the home owner. So they handle everything. Everything that I was handling as the landlord is now on them, and I just collect the monthly payment. We put together a little analysis here that I think is just extremely interesting. And these are real numbers, by the way, because we did own this house as a rental for many years. There's the rent payment. And I don't even know if we were actually even making this much, but $1,900 a month rent payment, less management, less vacancy, less all the expenses that you have to deal with as a landlord, right? Here in North Texas, property taxes have skyrocketed. And I mean skyrocketed. Insurance has gone up significantly. Maintenance, I mean, you know, with COVID and inflation, maintenance is just off the charts. And so you can see what the bottom line is here monthly. Your tenant might pay you $1,900 a month as a landlord, but you're not keeping nearly all of that, right? $1,200, $1,300 in this example. As the bank, and again, these are real numbers. Here's our $1,700 a month principal and interest payment coming to us. We don't pay any of the expenses. If the insurance goes up, that happens to be the homeowner's problem. If there's some significant maintenance event, that happens to be the homeowner's problem. If they can't get insurance, that happens to be the homeowner's problem. All these issues. And then I just have to pay a servicer. Okay. And the loan servicer is the intermediary between me, the bank, and the borrower, so that I'm not taking the phone calls and I'm not dealing with all the escrows and things like that. Or if you're a savvy lender, you'll just make the homeowner pay the servicing costs, which is absolutely what you try to do in every case. So now the pushback is always, hey, you don't own the home. You're not the landlord, so you can't take advantage of the home's appreciation or the principal buy down or any of that, right? You're not making any money on the return of the actual real estate itself. Well, and you plug this into a financial calculator, but in the next 5 years, I'll make $100,000 in interest. And so that house that I sold for $220,000, I don't know if you guys saw the picture of that. It's not going to be selling for $320,000 anytime soon. So I quite frankly, love being the lender in this case, because if for some reason the homeowner moves or there's a foreclosure, well, then I can just go do it again. And if it happens in that 5-year time frame, I make a very healthy amount of interest. So all the more reason, you know, if I had a huge rental portfolio, I would be doing this over and over and over again. As tenants moved out, I'd be selling my homes on an owner finance note. It's very powerful. All right, let's transition a bit. This whole time we've talked about performing notes, borrowers that pay on time, every time, good borrowers. Let's transition into non-performing notes. And this is also a very, very active space. In this space, you purchase notes that the borrowers are not paying, or at least the agreed upon mortgage note, right? So the best way to really dive into this is to talk about an example, because the question always comes up, well, why would you buy a mortgage note that the person's not paying? I mean, it makes very little sense, right? Well, number one, there's always the securitization aspect. You know, you're always buying this investment with a collateral, like a home, okay, single family residential home. We did our first non-performing mortgage note investment, and it was a row home actually in Wilmington, Delaware, and it was a divorce case. It was messy. The background on the story was extremely messy. It had been going on for a few years, right? The mortgage was in default for a couple of years, had not been paid on. The collectible balance, so what's on the borrower's statement for them to get out of their mess, is $33,000. They would have to pay that off to pay off the bank. The market value of the home was $110,000. So back to that original point about risk. Look at that buffer, okay? If I make this investment, I've got a whole lot of buffer to go before we start running out of options in the foreclosure process. But notes are sold at a discount, right? We're not gonna buy this note for the agreed upon balance. We actually bought it for a $10,000 discount. So I invested $23,000 all in, plus, you know, the eventual foreclosure costs and attorney's fees and all that. So our all-in investment was $23,000. We bought the note in April. Again, this property or this borrower had not paid for a couple of years. We managed through the foreclosure. You have to get attorneys involved in everything, and at the end we had $23,000 basically invested. We worked out a negotiated payoff. We said, okay, we know you owe 33, but would it interest you if we cut that down to 28? Would you pay it off today? And they said, yeah, sure, we'll do that. So the couple paid off their mortgage. They paid $28,000, and Emily and I made a $5,000 profit. So I be honest with you, the non-performing side of the business kind of scared the heck out of me when we first got into mortgage note investing. So I was not. I mean, there are people out there that will invest hundreds of thousands of dollars into these types of investments. They are so good at them. But I was more on the, hey, let's make a nominal investment and see if we can make a little money here and test out the process. But gosh, if you could do this at scale and make $5,000 in 30 days and you had a bunch of these, I mean, it's great. It's just a phenomenal way to get into the non-performing note space. In fact, someone that Emily and I really look up to is a gal named Sophia Jones. She is a prolific non-performing mortgage note investor. If you're in the notes business, you definitely know about Sophia. She has a different strategy though. And I know a lot of folks, when they hear about non-performing, they're like, okay, well, you have to foreclose, you're taking away someone's home. There's, you know, potentially an emotional side to it. But for Sophia, she's become super successful at rehabilitating borrowers. She actually, the year that we got into note investing, she won an award for some of the work that she'd done, buying non-performing notes, working out, you know, different mortgage note workouts and negotiations with the borrowers to get them back on track and get an agreeable payment schedule figured out. And, you know, either keeping those notes as performing notes or selling those notes as performing notes. And that's the way that she runs her business. It's just another way to look at it, right? You don't have to buy non-performing notes and immediately go right into the foreclosure process. There are other ways to monetize this strategy. And Sophia does it just in a great way. So as we kind of wrap up here, the education piece, Emily and I, we saw notes as a way to amplify a much needed missing component of our portfolio, which was cash flow. We needed it in a very immediate way. And that's what notes will do. It will provide a very immediate cash flow when you buy on the performing side. As we got into it, we realized that it is a phenomenal way to build a legacy and build a retirement portfolio. We've got notes in our portfolio that won't mature, for 20, 25, 30 years. And so we are building that legacy for our kids and for our aging parents potentially, right? And things like that. We're really getting into the reason why we do this. And it starts with the cash flow piece, right? It was, hey, we need the immediate cash flow, but it really is so much more. 100%, because when you really peel back the onion on the partial strategy and find out how much future cash flows you can generate through not only that strategy, but some other things you can do with mortgage notes, it's unbelievable. It can take your current wealth journey and amplify it so much more. And for Emily and I, it's our family first and foremost, and the charities that we support and things of that nature. So it's made a huge difference for us. So when I give this presentation and when I see presentations like this, the first thing I think about is, okay, well, what are the things that I can do to make a change in my portfolio, to amplify the returns in my portfolio, to diversify. I mean, for Emily and I, it turned into a total diversification story. And it started with cash flow. What we realized, though, is that it really started with leveraging other people's expertise and time. Because nothing that Emily and I have done, whether it's been in the single family space, the multifamily space, or the mortgage note investing space, we have never done it alone. It's never just been Emily and myself. We've always surrounded ourselves with experts, and we've leveraged their expertise and their time to help us get to where we want to get to and help educate us at the end of the day. Because for me, these are serious investments over many, many years. And so it really required for us a level of education and confidence. And we found that in a fella named Eddie Speed. Eddie is really, when I look at it, and we've been in the note space for several years now, he's the granddaddy of notes. He's been in the business for multiple decades, 40 plus years. And you can see the figures on the screen, right? When Emily and I were looking for a group to surround ourselves with, for an ecosystem to become a part of, I met Eddie, and we basically stopped right there because the credibility and the level of expertise is second to none. And he runs a great little program, both an education program and an ecosystem of note investors that have absolutely propelled Emily and I to where our note business is today. And so I'll walk through a little bit, of an introduction to our ecosystem that Emily and I are a part of in Note School and what they've helped us done. First and foremost, Emily and I had a significant problem to solve, and that was cash flow. It was, oh my gosh, we've got a little bit of investment money left over from a property sale, but it absolutely needs to return a monthly check to my mailbox without fail. And so what Note School helps you do beyond educate you on which deals are good and how to do your due diligence and things like that, they actually help provide note inventory for you to purchase, right? They have a trade desk, and they will feed you deals, and they're pre-vetted deals, which is great, right? So they educate you on how to vet the deals, but they provide mortgage notes that are for sale. And so earlier when I said the space is very active, the secondary market on mortgage notes is extremely active. This is just one example of that at any given time, right? Someone can send you a spreadsheet and say, hey, here's 30 notes for sale. Let me know what looks interesting to you, right? And so
this is the kind of list that Note School buys and then divvies out to their members.
yeah. And so once you get in and you're ready to buy notes, they'll send you the list and say, hey, this is kind of what we've got going on today. Let us know if any of this looks interesting to you. We can look through it. And of course, Emily and I didn't have, you know, $500,000 to invest. And so we were also interested in this list, which was the list of notes that were, call it, more affordable, and actually really surprised me, right? I'm thinking, okay, gosh, my own mortgage has a balance of like $200,000. I'm going to be buying notes that are just way above my pay grade. And that wasn't the case at all. Like, I think the second or third note we bought was like a $10,000 mortgage note. I mean, it was the right investment with the right length of time, and it had a great monthly payment, which is what Emily and I needed, right? And so you can see right here, when Note School sent us the list, this is the exact list they sent us the first time we asked for some notes that we could invest in. And it's like, hey, you know, you can really diversify from a investment amount perspective, which is great. It's a great way to get into the business. And so Emily and I have been in the note investing business now going on 3 years. And so where are we at today? We've got roughly 25 notes in the portfolio. And again, some of those notes are, we've got investor participation in, meaning we bought the full note and then we sold the front end payments to that investor. And so not all 25 notes that we have are cash flowing to us today, but they will cash flow to us at some point in the future. But you can see Emily took a little snapshot of our bank account deposit there. And those are the notes that we own. And that's what the deposit activity looks like. And it's like, I mean, if back when I owned 10 rental houses, if somebody would have showed me this, I would start selling those homes immediately on owner finance notes, because again, the return on your effort as a bank, as a lender, doesn't even compare. It absolutely does not even compare. It's a position of less risk and a position of much less effort. I can tell you that. Oh, the other thing that happens when you own mortgage notes is you get these payoffs. Like, you own a mortgage note, people don't own their homes for 30 years. They might have a 30-year mortgage, but they don't live there for 30 years. And so randomly you'll have these people sell their homes, pay off their mortgage. Last month in January, we had the note over here in Hialeah, Florida, which is a suburb of Miami. We had the borrower pay a $19,000 deferred payment that was in the note agreement. Something happened in the note like 10 years ago during the housing crisis. We didn't own the note then, but there was some agreement that said, I will pay $19,000 in January of 2025. And it just ended up in our bank account one day. So you get these little surprises, right? Someone will sell their house and all of a sudden you have like $50,000 show up in your bank account, like the balance of the note, right? So it's just a great little business for cash flow and little surprises like that. So in recap, much of this, when I was being introduced to note investing, when we were being introduced to note investing, much of this was a mindset thing. I was very much satisfied with owning the real estate. I wanted to be the landlord. I wanted to take advantage of everything that being the real estate owner, came with. Everybody knows if you own real estate, that's a great wealth plan. Okay. But what I didn't know, or what we didn't know, is how much risk that actually is. And I can tell you right now, owning, a handful of multifamily apartment complexes and managing those deals, there's a lot going on, right, in this economy. And as the owner of the real estate, you sit back and sometimes think, wow, it would be kind of nice to be the bank sometimes and take advantage of a position of least risk and more certainty, more investment certainty, because none of these note deals that Emily and I have gotten into, there's no surprises, except for the deferred payment. That was a surprise, but there's no interest rate increases. There's no insurance surprises. There's no bad tenants. There's no, wars in Ukraine. I mean, there's no supply chain issues. There's no maintenance people quitting. It's, what you're getting into when you buy a mortgage note. And so Emily and I would like to offer to everybody what was offered to us when we first were presented mortgage notes as a solution to our investment portfolio. And that is a masterclass, a free masterclass that will help you with your implementation. Okay. This session was great for a high level and understanding like what the mortgage note investment is, how it can bring cash flow to your portfolio, a couple tricks of the trade where you can sell portions of the note to investors and benefit from that. But our mentor, Eddie Speed, puts on a masterclass called the Rich Rewards and Notes Masterclass. It's actually next week, next Wednesday. And we've got an invite for everybody to go to that so that you can see if notes furthermore is good for your portfolio. Eddie is going to gift everybody a lot of free material by attending this masterclass. This is stuff actually, even though we're part of Note School today, like full members, we still use this stuff because it's just great, right? It's a good way to walk through the due diligence. But I would highly recommend, if you're thinking about getting into note investing as a part of your portfolio, checking this session out next Wednesday and taking advantage of the free stuff, some of the process maps. And hey, you want to get into you want to sell or finance a home? Well, there's a process for that. You want to buy a performing note? There's a process for that. You want to buy non-performing? There's a process for that, right? And things of that nature. And then in addition, Eddie will give you his ebook, a note investing calculator tool, which again is something Emily and I use. When Emily and I sell a partial to a prospective passive investor, that's the tool we use, right? That's how we determine, hey, what's a good investment for my investor and what's a good investment for me? Because it has to be a win-win, right? And so, yeah, if you guys attend next week, you'll walk away with that calculator, and it's one that Emily and I use all the time. So it's very good. You really don't want to miss the event. It's phenomenal. It's taught by Eddie's team, who are seasoned note investors, more so than Emily and I, right? I feel grateful the opportunity to come teach this session. I feel like I've learned a ton, and I know this is doing great things for Emily and I in my portfolio. But if you're interested in getting into note investing, go to the session, because I think you'll be extremely impressed with the pedigree of educators that Eddie has on his team and what they have done in their time as note investors and the portfolios that they've built. It's extremely impressive. And so there's the QR code and the link. Obviously, Emily and I are available too for Q&A as far as what our experience has been with Note School. But yeah, I think it's a must attend if notes are going to be something that you do in your portfolio over the next years for sure. So
let's open it up to Q&A. I know we're a few minutes over.
Yeah.
Yep. So just raise your hand if you have a question specific to what they chatted about.
We covered everything, or we put them to sleep.
There we go. Jennifer, go ahead.
Hey guys, Emily, Adam, thank you so much. Small world. I think you guys are part of finance with George and
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
Emily, thank you. You actually wrote me. I think I posted something last year, so I had no idea. So
Small world.
yeah, small world. So anyways, I'm going to sign up for next Wednesday. But
Yeah.
thank you. That was really good information.
Yeah. Thanks.
Micah, you're up.
Hey, I appreciate all the info. Can you talk about taxes and that sort of thing on the money coming in? What does that look like?
Yeah. So at the bare bones level, the income that's generated is simply interest income. And so if, most mortgage notes are principal and interest payments. So you'll make a cash flow figure, but the only taxable portion is going to be interest. The popular thing to do for a lot of folks is to invest in their retirement accounts for that reason. there's not a whole lot you can do to mitigate the interest income tax on a mortgage note, similar to what you might be able to do with a piece of real estate with depreciation. So for that reason, when I look at our retirement accounts, I would say 90% of our retirement accounts are mortgage notes. Because, you know, interest income is not easily avoidable, but inside your retirement account, it could be.
Thank you.
Who's next? Was this helpful, guys? Do you feel like you got some clarity around questions, or do you feel overwhelmed? Are you excited about reserving the seat for next week? Greg.
The information was excellent. Thank you so much, guys. I'm excited. I'll try to be there next weekend. Is there a good way to connect with Emily and Adam?
Yeah, here's our contact information. So feel free to reach out to us, and we are happy to be a resource.
Yeah, absolutely. I love talking this stuff. So if you have any questions on any of this, would love to share more for sure.
Well, and as a follow-up, again, you guys are going to get these slides, you're going to get the video recording, you're going to get access to their contact information again. And so, you know, if there's any more questions directly, you'll have all their contact info. So unless you guys have another slide, can I just share the last slide that I have?
Absolutely.
Thank you. So I'm going to share my final slide, guys, with our upcoming events. So here are our upcoming grid events, which typically they're in person. So for those of you who don't physically live here, so sorry. We would love to have you in Charlotte, and we'd love to bring you on. If you are a specialist on any of these specific topics, please reach out to us. Just like we've connected with Emily and Adam. We love bringing subject matter experts on to educate our group, but typically they're in person. And next month we have how to maximize your income through property management, which we are actually subject matter experts in, as Convenient Rentals has about 200 doors in our property management division. So we are going to help and teach and educate around that topic March 12th. And then as you can see all the other upcoming events, make sure you register so that you can see if they're virtually based or if they're in person or what the location is around Charlotte. So extreme gratitude to Emily and Adam for this evening. But if there are no other questions, then I'm going to let you all have.
And if you did not RSVP for this event, we don't have your email address then. So please make sure to drop your email in the chat so we can make sure to get you the slides. Or you can email grid@beanopenerofdoors.com too to give us your email that way, and we can make sure to get you the slides.
Great. Thank you. I took screenshots of the group just in case we had someone who we missed. So thank you for that, Lisa. Great reminder. Greg.
Awesome. Thank you guys.
All right. Well, if there are there any other questions? I don't want to cut anyone off. Cool. Well, thank you again, everybody. And Emily and Adam, thank you. And I hope you feel better, Emily.
Yeah.
Thank you
Thanks,
so much.
guys. Thanks so much.
Bye, everyone.
See ya.
Bye. Thank you.